From a collection of rebellious colonies to a global superpower, the story of the United States is one of relentless ambition, bold ideas, and transformative moments. It's a journey fueled by a vision of freedom, shaped by wars that tested its resolve, and driven by innovation and leadership that changed the world forever. This is the untold story of America's rise to power, a story that reveals how a young nation dared to dream big and reshaped history in the process. The foundations of freedom and democracy in the United States form the cornerstone of its historic rise to power. From the earliest days of colonization, the idea of liberty and self-governance was central to the American identity, setting it apart from many other nations at the time. The colonies were founded by people seeking religious freedom, economic opportunity, and a voice in how they were governed. These aspirations led to the development of political philosophies that emphasized individual rights, rule of law, and the concept that government should serve the people, not the other way around. The early settlers brought with them ideas rooted in English common law and Enlightenment thinking, which stressed the importance of reason, equality, and justice. These ideas were revolutionary in a world dominated by monarchies and aristocracies. Colonists began to demand representation and began establishing local governments that reflected the will of the people, setting precedents for democratic principles. The push for self-rule gained momentum as the British Crown imposed taxes and regulations without colonial input, leading to widespread resentment. This tension eventually exploded into the American Revolution, a conflict that was as much about political philosophy as it was about taxation and territory. The Declaration of Independence, crafted in 1776, encapsulated these foundational ideals, boldly asserting that all men are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This document was more than a statement of rebellion. It was a manifesto for a new kind of government based on consent of the governed and individual freedoms. After gaining independence, the challenge was to build a government that could uphold these ideals while maintaining order and unity among the diverse states. The Constitution of the United States, drafted in 1787, established a federal system with checks and balances designed to prevent tyranny and protect citizens' rights. The Bill of Rights, added shortly after, further guaranteed freedoms like speech, religion, and assembly. These documents formed a framework that balanced power and liberty, allowing the nation to grow while protecting the principles on which it was founded. The emphasis on freedom and democracy also influenced social movements that expanded rights over time, including the abolition of slavery, women's suffrage, and civil rights for all citizens. Each struggle was rooted in the foundational belief that liberty and equality are not static, but living ideals that require vigilance and action to realize fully. These core values attracted immigrants and innovators, fueling economic growth and cultural diversity. The commitment to freedom fostered an environment where creativity and entrepreneurship could flourish, helping America to industrialize rapidly and become a global power. The idea that anyone could improve their circumstances through hard work became a defining characteristic of the American dream, inspiring generations. Ultimately, the foundations of freedom and democracy laid during America's birth provided not only a model for its own government, but also inspired democratic movements worldwide. The United States' rise was built on the courage to claim these rights, the wisdom to build institutions that protect them, and the ongoing effort to expand them to all its people. This legacy continues to shape the nation's identity and influence its role on the global stage. The impact of the Revolutionary War on the United States is profound and far-reaching, marking the decisive moment when the American colonies broke free from British rule and embarked on a path toward becoming an independent nation. This war was not merely a military conflict, it was a revolutionary transformation that reshaped political ideas, social structures, and international relations. The struggle for independence tested the resolve of the colonists and forged a new identity based on freedom, self-determination, and the right to govern themselves. At the heart of the Revolutionary War was the colonists' rejection of British authority, which they saw as oppressive and unjust. The British government's imposition of taxes and laws without colonial representation violated the fundamental principle of no taxation without representation. This grievance united diverse groups of colonists across the 13 colonies, sparking protests, boycotts, and eventually armed conflict. The war forced the colonists to organize militias and develop strategies against the well-trained British army, testing their unity and resilience. The war also catalyzed the spread of revolutionary ideas that went beyond independence from Britain. Leaders like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin articulated visions of a society founded on liberty, equality, and republicanism. The Declaration of Independence, adopted in 1776, was a bold statement that declared the colonies free and equal, and it inspired people both in America and around the world. The principles expressed in the Declaration laid the groundwork for modern democracy and human rights. The Revolutionary War had significant social effects as well. It challenged traditional hierarchies and empowered ordinary citizens to participate in the political process. The conflict inspired debates about freedom and equality that would continue to evolve long after the war ended. While the immediate aftermath did not resolve all social inequalities, such as slavery or the status of women, the ideas born during the revolution planted seeds for future reform movements. Militarily, the war was a test of endurance and strategy. The colonists faced a powerful empire but used guerrilla tactics, knowledge of the terrain, and alliances to their advantage. Crucial support from foreign allies like France turned the tide in favor of the Americans, culminating in key victories such as the Battle of Saratoga and the decisive siege of Yorktown. These successes demonstrated that determination, strategy, and alliances could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. Politically, the outcome of the war created the opportunity to form a new government based on democratic principles. The Articles of Confederation initially provided a loose framework for cooperation among the states, but it soon became clear that a stronger federal system was needed. The experience of fighting for independence highlighted the importance of unity and effective governance, leading to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution. The war also had international consequences, signaling the decline of British colonial dominance and encouraging other nations and peoples to pursue their own independence and democratic reforms. The American Revolution inspired revolutions in France, Latin America, and beyond, making it a pivotal event in world history. In summary, the impact of the Revolutionary War went far beyond the battlefield. It reshaped the political landscape, sparked social change, and inspired generations to fight for freedom and self-governance. The war's legacy is the foundation of the United States' identity as a nation built on the principles of liberty and democracy, a legacy that continues to influence its role on the global stage. Expansion with creative age of the 19th century were united forces from the United States rise in from a powerful and influential country. This era, marked by rapid territorial growth and groundbreaking technological advancements, transformed the social, economic, and political landscape of America, laying the groundwork for its future as a global leader. Territorial expansion was driven by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the United States was destined to spread across the North American continent. This belief fueled a wave of migration westward, pushing settlers beyond the original 13 colonies into vast, unexplored lands. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the country overnight, opening immense tracts of land for settlement and development. Subsequent acquisitions and treaties, such as the annexation of Texas, the Oregon Territory settlement, and the Mexican-American War, further extended the nation's borders from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This expansion was not without challenges. It sparked conflicts with Native American tribes who were forcibly removed from their ancestral lands and raised difficult questions about the spread of slavery into new territories, issues that would later contribute to the Civil War. Nonetheless, the expansion created opportunities for economic growth, new communities, and increased political power. At the same time, the 19th century was a period of intense innovation and industrialization. The Industrial Revolution transformed the United States from a primarily agrarian society into an industrial powerhouse. Innovations like the cotton gin, the steam engine, and the telegraph revolutionized agriculture, transportation, and communication. Railroads expanded rapidly, connecting the East Coast with the frontier, facilitating trade, migration, and military movement. Factories and mechanized production methods increased manufacturing capacity and efficiency, creating new jobs and fostering urban growth. Inventors and entrepreneurs flourished during this period, driving forward new technologies and business models. Figures like Samuel Morse, Eli Whitney, and Cyrus McCormick introduced inventions that changed everyday life and economic practices. These technological advances not only boosted the American economy, but also increased the nation's strategic capabilities, allowing it to compete on a global scale. The expansion and innovation of the 19th century also had profound social implications. The increased movement of people and goods contributed to the growth of cities and the diversification of the population. New ideas about democracy, labor, and rights emerged, as did tensions between different economic classes and regions. The growth of the abolitionist movement and the fight for women's rights were part of this dynamic social landscape, reflecting the evolving values of a nation grappling with its identity and future. Politically, the expansion raised significant debates about statehood, governance, and the balance of power between free and slave states. These debates highlighted the contradictions within American democracy and set the stage for the sectional conflicts that would eventually lead to the Civil War. Despite these challenges, the nation emerged from this period with a stronger federal government and a more defined national identity. In summary, the 19th century's expansion and innovation were defining factors in America's transformation from a small group of colonies into a vast, industrialized nation. The territorial growth extended its influence across a continent, while technological and industrial advances positioned it as an economic and military power. These developments were complex and often contentious, but they collectively laid the foundation for the United States' emergence as a major force on the world stage. America's role in world conflicts has been a defining element in its emergence as a global power. From its early days, the United States largely focused on internal development and expansion, maintaining a policy of neutrality in many foreign disputes. However, as the nation grew stronger economically and militarily, it increasingly became involved in international conflicts that shaped not only its destiny, but also the course of world history. One of the first major global conflicts that involved the United States was World War I. Initially, America adopted a stance of neutrality, aiming to avoid entanglement in the complex web of European alliances and rivalries. However, repeated provocations such as unrestricted submarine warfare by Germany and the interception of the Zimmermann telegram, which proposed a German-Mexican alliance against the U.S., compelled America to join the war in 1917. This intervention was pivotal in tipping the balance in favor of the Allies. The U.S. brought fresh troops, resources, and morale to a war-weary Europe. The war also marked the beginning of America's transition from an isolated nation to an influential actor on the global stage. The post-war peace negotiations and President Wilson's vision for a League of Nations reflected America's new role as a potential peacekeeper and world leader. Even though the U.S. Senate did not ratify the League, World War II was an even more significant turning point. The attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 thrust America fully into the conflict, uniting the nation behind the war effort. The U.S. mobilized its vast industrial and human resources to become the arsenal of democracy, supplying not only its military but also its allies with critical war materials. American forces fought on multiple fronts: Europe, the Pacific, and North Africa, demonstrating extraordinary military capabilities and strategic planning. The war's end saw the U.S. emerge as one of two superpowers alongside the Soviet Union, setting the stage for the Cold War era. The creation of the United Nations, the Marshall Plan for European recovery, and America's leadership in establishing NATO all underscored its commitment to shaping a stable and cooperative international order. Beyond the world wars, America's involvement in conflicts such as the Korean War, Vietnam War, and the Gulf War further demonstrated its role in global security and influence. Each conflict reflected different aspects of Cold War tensions, ideological battles, and regional dynamics. These wars tested American military strength, resolve, and foreign policy strategies. While not all were unequivocal successes, they reinforced the United States' position as a key player in maintaining global balance and responding to threats to its interests and allies. America's participation in world conflicts has also influenced its domestic policies and society. Wars have accelerated technological innovation, such as advancements in aerospace and computing, and have led to shifts in social structures, including the integration of the armed forces and the civil rights movement. The responsibilities and sacrifices associated with these conflicts have shaped national identity and patriotism, reinforcing the idea of America as a defender of freedom and democracy. Furthermore, America's role in world conflicts has carried moral and ethical dimensions. The nation has often framed its involvement as a fight for justice, freedom, and the protection of human rights. While this rhetoric has been subject to criticism and debate, it has been a powerful force in rallying public support and defining America's image abroad. In conclusion, America's role in world conflicts has been a crucial driver of its rise as a global power. From reluctant participant to leader on the world stage, its military engagements have shaped international relations, fostered alliances, and established the United States as a central actor in maintaining peace and security. These conflicts have tested the nation's values, strength, and resilience, forging an enduring legacy of leadership that continues to influence global affairs today. Shaping modern global leadership has been a defining journey for the United States, reflecting its transformation from a young nation focused primarily on domestic growth to a dominant power with far-reaching influence around the world. This evolution did not happen overnight. It was the result of deliberate decisions, strategic diplomacy, military engagement, economic innovation, and a commitment to certain ideals that resonated globally. After emerging victorious from the trials of world conflicts and expanding its economic might during the Industrial Revolution, the United States found itself in a unique position by the mid-20th century. It was one of the few countries whose infrastructure and industry were largely intact after World War II, while much of Europe and Asia lay devastated. This advantage enabled the U.S. to take on a leadership role in rebuilding and reshaping the global order. Initiatives like the Marshall Plan, which provided extensive aid to war-torn European nations, demonstrated America's willingness to invest in global stability and prosperity. This was not just altruism, but a strategic effort to create allies and open markets, ensuring a stable environment for democracy and capitalism to flourish. Politically, the United States championed institutions designed to promote cooperation and peace, such as the United Nations and NATO. By spearheading these organizations, the U.S. positioned itself as a central figure in international diplomacy, helping to mediate conflicts and promote collective security. This approach was crucial during the Cold War when the world was divided between competing ideologies. The U.S. sought to contain the spread of communism through alliances, economic aid, and, when necessary, military intervention. This period solidified America's image as a defender of freedom and a counterbalance to authoritarian regimes. Economic leadership also played a critical role. The U.S. became a global economic powerhouse, driving technological innovation, trade, and financial systems that shaped the modern world. American companies expanded internationally, introducing new products, services, and business practices that influenced global markets. The dollar emerged as the world's primary reserve currency, symbolizing economic stability and confidence in American financial institutions. This economic strength provided the resources necessary for sustained diplomatic and military engagement around the world. Culturally, American ideals of freedom, opportunity, and democracy had a profound impact on global perceptions. Through media, education, and cultural exchange, the United States projected an image of a society where innovation and individual rights were celebrated. This soft power complemented its hard power, making the U.S. an attractive model for aspiring nations. The spread of American culture and values helped foster connections and alliances that extended beyond mere political or military ties. Leadership on the global stage also required adaptability. The U.S. has faced numerous challenges, from wars and economic crises to shifting alliances and emerging powers. Its ability to navigate these complexities while maintaining core principles of democracy and human rights has been crucial. America's leadership has often involved balancing national interests with global responsibilities, a dynamic that continues to evolve in today's interconnected world. Moreover, the U.S. commitment to innovation and education has reinforced its leadership role. Investments in research, technology, and higher education have kept the nation at the forefront of scientific and technological advances. This innovation drives economic growth and provides tools for addressing global challenges such as climate change, health crises, and cybersecurity threats. In summary, shaping modern global leadership has been a multifaceted process that combined military strength, economic power, diplomatic engagement, cultural influence, and a commitment to shared values. The United States' rise to leadership reflects its ability to adapt, invest in long-term relationships, and uphold ideals that resonate worldwide. This leadership has shaped international systems and continues to influence how nations interact, cooperate, and resolve conflicts in the 21st century and beyond. The rise of the United States to global leadership is a story of vision, resilience, and commitment to principles that transcend borders. From its foundational belief in freedom and democracy to its decisive role in world conflicts, expansive growth, and relentless innovation, America has shaped not only its own destiny, but also the course of world history. Its leadership on the global stage reflects a blend of hard power, economic strength, and cultural influence, grounded in the pursuit of ideals that inspire nations everywhere. As the world continues to evolve, the legacy of the United States serves as a powerful example of how dedication to enduring values, combined with strategic action, can transform a nation into a beacon of hope and a force for progress worldwide.